Hi, my name is Loretta, and this is the Limitless Infinite, and this is a space to help you align your mind to higher vibrations and higher frequencies. I just wanted to make this super quick video because I watch a lot of videos from the channel Beyond the Veil. If you guys have not checked that out, they have a lot of really good discussions. You should check them out. And they had a guest, and his name was Richard Allen Miller. And he said this something, and I had sort of a response to what he said, and I just wanted to share it. So he had said something that is basically on the lines of, I was trying to see, sorry if I wrote it down, but I didn't, that the answer to any question is within the construct of the question. So almost like you have to understand what the answer is to properly be able to construct the question that you need in order to get the specified answer that you're looking for. So I thought that was really interesting because it's kind of the idea that you already have the answer to any question because you wouldn't be able to ask it properly and direct the wording to give you the answer without properly knowing what that answer is. So I thought it was kind of interesting. I was kind of mulling over it in my mind, and I went through like a couple things that I thought were good, kind of good responses to it. It just really spurred a lot of thinking for me, and the thought that I landed on was actually the greatest answer to any question isn't the question or the construct of the question, since you already have the answer. It's knowing who to ask. And so this is really important because I think a lot of people will have a hard time understanding that, well, if I need to ask a question because I don't know the answer, how do I know the answer? And so the sort of, I don't know how you would say, it's not really like a trick, but the trick answer to that question is actually you have to know that the greatest answer is to know who to ask the question to. So, and then I was kind of thinking, that is one of the biggest things too, I think, about also doing all this work for people to shed their ego and to be able to understand that it's perfectly okay to ask people for help, or that, one of the maybe one of the greatest ways to go through your life experience is knowing who to ask for what and being in a mode of receiving. And so instead of, when you have questions to everything, you are kind of in a mind state of lack because you are lacking this answer that you need. And so if you keep mulling over the same questions, or you don't necessarily think a lot about who you're asking the questions to, you continue to perpetually be in this state of, I don't know what to do, or I don't know the answer to this question, and you keep perpetuating this reality of you don't know. And so if you can kind of get into a mind state of knowing that you just need to know who to ask for what, and that you have the right to ask, then you always have the answer to anything that you need. And you don't ever have to be in a state of lack. And there is abundance because many questions can be answered by many different people. So when you say something like the greatest answer to any question is who to ask, it's not just one person. It could be multiple people. The greatest answer to any question might include getting multiple answers from multiple people, depending on what the question is, or the nature of the question, and depending on the level of understanding that you want within the answer that you're looking for. But I just thought it was kind of funny that I was thinking, oh, the best answer to any question, like if you're feeling confused about, like, how do I know the answer? Like, if I don't know, if I'm asking, then I don't know the answer. You do know the answer. It's who to ask, and to just not let your ego get in the way of you feeling too prideful, or that you don't want to have to ask other people for help, or that you can figure it out and you have to do it all on your own. You don't. The whole point of the human experience, I think, is understanding that we're all integrated, and nobody makes it through any part of their life, certainly not any human being, without the assistance of something or someone else. Certainly there have been, there are people who like you'll say like, oh, like live on the streets, or the homeless people who have been abandoned and this and that. And there's still a point at which those people need something. So even if you were like completely feral and lived in the jungle, you still are looking for help from the plants, from the animals. Like, what are you eating? What is your shelter? So you don't make it through life at all without the help of something else. But this honestly, I think is just more applicable to, if you are someone who is integrated into a life where there are other people around, and you're kind of in a culture, or at least some kind of group, community, or society that you're sharing, that the human experience is really meant to be shared with other people. And it's a rare thing to be that solitaire, that you would exist somewhere with completely no other humans at all your entire life. And to be honest, that's almost still not true, because you still were part of somebody's life for the 9 months that you were in some mother's womb, and then she birthed you. So even if you were born and at birth were left somewhere to fend for yourself, you still have an integral tie to the person who brought you into this world. So you really can't do anything without somebody else, because we're all born into the world. So we all require that first initial human contact. But I just wanted to share this information because I think it is really important to also not be afraid to ask people questions, and not to be, people get so caught up in getting the right answer, or having the correct information, or doing everything themselves. But we should never be afraid to ask questions. We should really, I would really rather have a Rolodex of knowing exactly who to ask for what, than have to have an information Rolodex where I have every answer for everything. And to be honest, if you have this kind of mindset, it almost allows you to be really free a lot of the time of your ego, because ego is what drives you to be very intelligent. Ego is what might drive you to want to have all the answers, to know all the information, to always be right, to always be correct. And so if you live a lifestyle and you're choosing to try to shed your ego, one of the best ways to do that is to really start asking people for help. And then the other part of that I think is important for people to understand in this as well, is that it's such a nice, wonderful thing. Like, if you're the person being asked a question, it's part of ego shedding for you to let go, to be able to give someone the answer. I've encountered, to be honest, a number of situations, I think, since, even like my awakening, that have been people have the information that you need, especially when you're going through this process of awakening, and there's just so much stuff you really don't know. It's like a whole different experience that if you don't know other people going through it, you really would have no idea what's going on. Like, you really are just trying to, and it's so hard to figure out on your own if you literally have no other outlet to communicate with, or to just at least like figure out like what their experience is versus what your experience is that you're having, and then to start integrating certain things into your life that become an integral part of your experience because you're awakened. But I've met people too that are kind of like, almost like, there are some people that have gone through years of learning certain things and informing themselves about certain stuff, and then you come along and you're like asking all these questions, and instead of them being able to just give you the answers that you're looking for because they already have them, it's almost like that, what I like to call that spiritual ego, that's like, I'm not necessarily going to give you all the answers, but I'll tell you where to find the information, which is neither is bad. If somebody is giving you an answer, it's like, great. If somebody can tell you where to get the info, okay, fine. Like, you go and you get the info, but it's kind of another level to be able to say, it took me years to figure this out, but I'm happy to give you that information so it doesn't take years of your life to figure that out. That one, to me, is what it means to be part of a spiritual community, to be able to do this. And I think this is also part of collective work, which is to not necessarily have to let other people go through a struggle, or to go through now what would be considered like your spiritual suffering, because life is suffering, like the Buddhic way, like your physical life and all the suffering that you go through. But then it's like you're awakened, and now you're going through like this spiritual suffering because of all this other understanding that you don't know. But it's really about if you're trying to get to this point, my personal perception of being really enlightened, it's to just say, if I have an answer, I'm going to give you the best, most direct answer that I have. And I'm not necessarily going to sit here and direct you to read 4 different books in order for you to get it. Certainly, I would say this is my personal perspective of the answer, my personal perspective answer of the question that you are asking. Here is how I got to this answer. If you want to go check out these 4 or 5, however many books that I had to read to get to my personal perspective, that might be a really good experience for you, just so that you have your own perspective. But generally, if I read 5 books to get to my personal perspective, what I've read is 5 other perspectives of information that I've collectively put together into my own personal perspective. So it's like any personal perspective that you have really comes from a projection of other people's personal perspectives of their experiences and the information they've learned and that they know, that they've researched out. So, for me to be able to say, this is like my abridged version of these other 5 versions of all this information. And so you kind of take it as it is. But I just wanted to say that too, because I think it's like a two-way street. This knowing the answer to any question, being able to let go of feeling like you have to have the answer to everything, being able to feel within your right, and to be able to feel the love of being able to be okay asking people questions, and then to be able to reciprocate that love by being able to be the person to give you the answer. And like I said, it's your own personal choice to direct people through all the information that it took you to get to an answer, or I think for some people it's a perspective of just being like, well, this is the however many steps I took to get to this point in my journey, and I think it would be best for you to go through that experience as well. It is your personal choice to either direct someone to go through the same steps as you, or to just direct someone to what your the sort of cumulative answer of what your experience has been. So it's really up to you. But I kind of like to live in the idea of giving people the shortest answer. I'm not really into, if I can give someone an answer to a question where they don't have to read 5 books to get it, and it feels like a pretty concise answer, that's great. I would love to give it to them. But I'd also like to direct them to how I got to the answer, and then let them choose, does your perspective resonate with me? Or do I need to go research through all this information to see if maybe I have a different kind of resonation with this information? It's really up to you and whatever you decide. But I just wanted to get that information out, because I think it's also important as part of, the continued process of kind of shedding, I shouldn't say shedding your ego. I like to say integrating your ego. I don't think that you ever get rid of it. A lot of people go through this like ego death. I have another video about ego death and what I call ego integration, and I'll put the link down below. But I really think that ego's greatest trick is making you think that it died. I don't think the ego ever dies. It is essentially part of you. The ego that you have is basically that part of your collective soul essence. It's like those parts of you that are still learning to go through this process of being, enlightened, or even if you just say, those parts of you that still have those lower vibrational energies and those feelings. That's what the ego is. Ego resides so if you think of yourself as a collective, your collection of energies, a collection of past experiences. You are the me and we, which is another video that I'll have up, so I'll put that link in there too. But it's like what I've been hearing on Aaron Abke's channel about social memory complex, which is almost you are building your own social memory complex. You are a collection of past previous life experiences. You are going through your own evolution through densities, and so you are basically creating your own social memory complex. So the me in you is actually the we in you, and so you have a collective essence of energy that has to do with your biological, ancestry, but also has to do with your energetic heritage or ancestry, however you want to call it. But all of that has all these collective essences, which is this collection of your soul. Like, your soul isn't just this personality, this lifetime. It's a collection of every personality you've ever been, or any kind of energy or state of energy that you've ever been in. And everything that you've learned from those experiences resides as part of your soul. And so if you can understand that, the ego is really just these parts of your essence that still have these low vibrational states. And as you're going through these densities and ascending to higher and higher densities and different levels of consciousness, and you're going through like each of your chakras, and you're getting to the ones, especially now, like your fourth, like what the earth's in, the fourth density in your heart chakra, and you're opening up to love, it's really about transmuting the last of these low vibrational energies that are part of either your personality in your lifetime here, but also past previous lifetimes. And that, you know, when you can learn to integrate that part of yourself into a higher vibrational state, that is when your ego is like integrated. And to me, that's like when you are able to, you know, what people might say, shed your ego, but you're not like letting go of it. You're not like, it's not dying and then thus isn't a part of you anymore. It's literally you're taking these lower vibrational states of yourself and you're raising their vibration and frequency, so your ego is becoming integrated into you. So I just thought that was important too, to just get that out there all in one video. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of make the video quick about just knowing that the greatest answer to any question is really to know who to ask. And that could just be like knowing which part of you to ask, knowing who to ask in the physical world, knowing who to ask in the spiritual world, knowing that you have the right to ask, hopefully being able to be the person too that will answer any question that is asked of you, and you know, sharing your life experience that way. And if you can get in that mindset of abundance, which is you always know who to ask, then you also can do more to raise your vibration and your frequency to also keep integrating your ego. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to comment or like below, and I will see you in my next one. Thanks.